Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second episode of Flash Talks. In this series, we are going to be interviewing traders, successful traders like David. So, David is a day trader based on Los Angeles, and he's mainly a short seller. So, we are going to deep dive into his journey and find out every detail that could impact on our journey. So, hello, David. I know my introduction was little, so I would like to ask you for for a proper introduction.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, thanks for having me on the Flash Talks. You said
Flash talk, yeah.
Flash Flash Talks. Nice intro, nice name right there. Okay, so yeah, so I'm David Capablanca. I have a podcast as well, Friendly Bear, and Conscious Trading Academy now, and seven-figure trader, verified profits. I've been trading since 2020 seriously, but I got started like in 2016, on and off, getting my life together to be able to trade full time. I did architecture before trading, from Miami originally. Yeah, live in LA. Yeah, I can go on forever about like my history, getting up there in
So,
age, so like you have a history.
you
Yeah.
said you started your career, your working career first as an architect. What was the transition, and why did you change your plans and become a short seller?
Okay, so yeah, architecture. I wasn't looking to do trading at all. I just wanted to do architecture and be like uh, I don't know, like a really cool architect. But the student loans. So in the United States, we have the school system for education, like graduate school and college and all that, masters and bachelor's, masters, cost a lot of money, and they let you take out loans, like government loans, and it doesn't depend on credit or anything. You just, as long as you get accepted to the school, you take out the loan, you can go to the school. So I was like, I just like wanted to do architecture, so my parents are both immigrants to the United States, and like my father is from he's Persian, and my mother is Cuban, and they were just both like, hey, you got to go to college, you got to go to college. And then my mother was like, encouraged me to do architecture. I was really good at chess growing up, and
Chess, the
puzzle
game.
solving. Yeah, I played a lot of chess. Played what do you call it? Did a lot. Was very good at puzzles and drawing, and so like chose architecture and like to go to college for and to do a master's, and like my parents were happy about that, and so I went to college for that, and I the same way with trading I was with architecture. I was always staying up late, doing a lot of extra research, doing a lot of extra things on the side,
So
like
you were
hobbies, like
passionate about it, right?
super passionate. I did like drawing on my own, photography on my own, just like I'll watch YouTube videos at the time, like of
Wow.
like lectures of architects and stuff. So like on my own, no one told me. I just was really making models and stuff, just like everything was like that. But then the student loans was so much, so it's like, let's say multiple six figures of student loans, which is standard in the United States when you do a master's in anything like law or medicine, a doctor. It's the same thing. So it's like most of these careers, you're stuck paying the student loans for like the next 10 to 20 years. It's normal, and then you take on a lot of debt, and and then you just paying the loans off, and working for someone, and most people accept it. So for me, I had a brain surgery operation in graduate school, and that was like a life threatening situation. And after surviving that, I think like my perspective on life had changed completely. Where I was like,
Wow.
I don't want to spend the rest of my years on the planet paying back debt, or I got to do something about this. And then, and so like, because the doctor told me, hey, you have 50 years to live, more or less, depending, and I was 25 years old at the time. He's like, you have 50 years, give or take, it depends on you. could make more, you can make less, whatever. But it's around 50 years extra life you just got right now. You were supposed to have 2 weeks of life. I gave you 50 years.
Wow.
So then I was like, after that, when I went to the architecture classes, I was 25 in my first year of my master's, and I couldn't stand like the sawdust in the air from the models. I couldn't stand like the 3D printer, the powder, the late nights, 2, 3, 4 in the morning. Like I was recovering, and I was like, I just didn't like it anymore. And then like the debt, also racking up the debt and knowing that like I'm gonna be paying back this debt for the longest. I'm not gonna be able to live my dreams because like when you, if you don't have that urgency that like after that surgery, whatever that I had, if I didn't have that surgery, it's kind of like you're just kind of chill. It's like, oh, this is a normal. You just do the career.
You have
But
plenty
after
of
that
time,
surgery,
right? You have plenty of
yeah,
time,
you have
and
plenty of time. Yeah, exactly. It's gonna work itself out. This is cool.
yeah,
It's a nice career. But then after that, it's like, man, it was a huge wake up call. It's like, man, you mean to tell me like I'm not gonna be able to like reach my dreams or my goals or travel or go to Europe or something? Like, how can I go on vacation or something, or like I don't know, or be the architect that I wanted to be, like own my own firm if I'm in multiple six figures of debt, paying that off for many years, you know? So, um, yeah, so that was a big wake up call. So when I did end up graduating though, and when I graduated, I worked for, it was like a month. I worked at a firm for a month, and I couldn't take it anymore, man. It's like the drive there, a 2 hour, like an hour and a half drive in LA traffic to the 9 to 5 architecture job, hour and a half back. I was making $28 an hour, and then like the second week, uh, the principal of the firm called me in and said, "Hey, actually, can we renegotiate? Actually, we looked at the expenses. Are you okay with taking 26.50 an hour?" And I was like, "Damn, it's like," and I was like, "Oh yeah, no problem. It's 26.50 is not a big deal." But 26.50 an hour, and like I have multiple six figures of student loans. I had a car payment, like I don't even want to say the car I had at the time, but like I had a car payment. I had insurance for the car. I had rent. I had credit card bills from college. It was a mess. So I was
yeah,
like, I can't do this. And I had 3 more years to study for the architecture exam. So to be a licensed architect. So like it was never gonna end. So I need to find a high income career. I looked into real estate. And then stocks showed up also. And I decided, stocks is kind of like chess. Stocks is kind of like architecture. It's an art and a science. And let me devote myself to it like I did in architecture school, and I'll figure it out. And I gave myself uh so I chose short selling immediately right away after I saw the example of Tim Grittani. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do what this guy did.
which
He
year
made
was that?
2016. Yeah, 2016. So I was like, I'm gonna do what Tim Grittani did. I'm gonna do what this guy did. If he can do it, I can do it. And then he did $10,000 into a million or something like that over a long time. But like, and most of that, I think it was 11,500, and he borrowed 10,000 from his parents. And like my parents weren't gonna lend me money, but
Yeah.
but I was like, okay, he did it, and I'll do it. So like I started with just a couple thousand in an interactive brokers account, and I shorted just like 10 shares, 100 shares for like 4 years,
And
man,
how
while I
were you
cleaned up.
shorting? Like, what kind of strategies, or was it random? How were you doing?
Uh, so I was paid pump and dumps at first. That was the clearest thing for me. Just paid pump and dumps. The emails, they did email newsletters back then, and I was scared to short it. So like I would just short like 10 shares.
Hmm.
And with 10 shares with a $2,000 account, it's like nothing. These are like, so you don't make any money, but I'm getting lessons. Like even now, I have my interactive brokers thing, TWS, pulled up. I don't use interactive brokers, but it's the same um, organization as 2016. I still have the borrow fee rates column pulled up with the yellow color. I still have, it's all stock short selling. It's all the shortable shares inventory, the utilization, the fee rate. And I have, this is all organized from 2016. So even though I wasn't actively trading, I was still and like actively even studying. I didn't have time to study. I was driving Uber back then too. On after architecture, I didn't have architecture 26.50 an hour doesn't pay anything. So like I had to drive Uber
Yeah, an
and
extra
do
job.
tutoring and yeah, and do tutoring, tutor kids math and stuff. And while I didn't I was so tired, I could only I probably studied maybe only like 5 hours or maybe 10 hours a week. That was like for 2 years. And
Hmm.
then 2018, I didn't study at all. I took completely off. Um, it was like I wasn't making any money, and like it was a, I was, but I knew I had to clean my life up in order to give myself a chance. And I saw Ducks had made like 1 million, or like 900,000 his first year. He was like 2017, 2018. And I remember I was at the DMV, like I was paying a ticket because I used to rack up parking tickets in LA like crazy, and I was broke. So like I had a lot of bad habits. Like I'm a disciplined person now and everything, but I wasn't always this way. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? I was always like I was a mess, and so I was paying off all these tickets in the DMV with like the little bit of money I got from Uber and tutoring or whatever.
What is the
And
DMV?
the uh it's the place you go to get the licenses
Okay.
for driving in the United States. I think it's called Division of Motor Vehicles.
Okay, I got you.
There we go. Yeah, yeah. So Division of Motor Vehicles, and it's the worst service. You got to wait in line. It's crazy. It's so bad, so bad. And I'm there, and I'm on the Wi-Fi of the DMV or something, and I'm looking at on my phone while I'm waiting in line, and I see Ducks is like past $1 million in profits, and I'm like, damn, I started when this guy started, and like, so it gave me more
More
motivation to do
fuel.
it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like, and I saw Gritani did it, Ducks did it. I was like, wow, so like, this is really, I got to study like these guys. So then I was like, okay, how did they do it? Brittani was like in college when he did it. He didn't have bills and credit cards and all this debt and headache like I have. I was like, man, I got a lot of headaches. These guys didn't have headaches. They could focus. And I saw Dux is like it was in college too in Ohio, and he was in a dormitory studying, and he would cook food and study. And I was like, you know what? I need to go like in a dormitory. How do I get myself in a like when I was in school, I did well because I was focused on the school. I was in the dormitory and it's there. So then I decided to get an office, and I got a shared office for 250 a month.
Why?
Uh,
Because of focus? Like, David?
you there? Yeah,
There.
yeah, you there?
Okay.
Yeah.
Because of focus, you were to an office, or why?
So I knew I had to put like 20 hours of work in a day because I didn't know anything. So like I was coming from, I didn't even know. Well, at that point, and I knew a little bit because I studied for like 2 years, like a little bit. But I knew there was a lot more I needed to learn, and it's gonna take a lot of time, and I need to be like fully immersed into the whole world of trading. I just didn't know there was a lot I didn't know, and so I was like, and I had a lot of study material.
What was your
So
path there in study? Like, who did you learn from, or did you do your own thing, or what
I
was your
learned
path?
from multiple people. I learned from multiple people. It's like you put in all the work yourself. You go through all the rabbit holes yourself. Of course, like certain people, you mentioned them, they want to take all the credit, but it's like, yo, you did all the work yourself. So I'm coming to that realization now, like so many years later. It's like I did all the work, all those 20 hours of work. I have a bookshelf right here, like I don't know, 150 books of stock trading. Anytime someone mentioned the book, I bought the book, I read the book. And then when I started a podcast 2021, every single person that I read their book, I reached out to them. A lot of them didn't answer, but some of them did. I interviewed them and I learned more. So like, who did I learn from? I learned from a lot of different sources. So like these days is like I got to be very clear, and I got to be careful of like who because I don't want to mislead people. It's like, okay, you mentioned someone and then they're like, "Oh, that's the reason why." It's like, no. And then after I made my first six figures, I saw in Puerto Rico there was an office there, and I'm like, you know what? I need to get over there. I need to learn about taxes. I need to learn about incentive, and I need to go there and network and meet people. and like
That
I
that
don't have
office
any
is St. Lucia's one.
trade space. So I went to trade space. I was one of the first people there, and it's like opportunity at the time was yeah, Lucci, thanks for having the
Yeah,
office and that availability. No one does it. No one goes there like I did. It's usually people that have already made a ton of money, like millions. But I went there and I networked. No one did all that work. Like no one did the work for me. I went there. I met traders. I made friends with traders. I put a lot of work. I was there 3 in the morning to 8 p.m. at night, 9 days out of 10. Everybody there knows that. Like, it's
yeah,
like, and that's not even
that's
that much
amazing.
of an exaggeration. So it's like, it's not like who gave you the material, who did you learn from? It's like I was a sponge. So it's like when you want to give credit, it's like you gotta, like, the main thing is yourself. So I have a photo right here in the office I had since 2020 of Hernan Cortez of Burning the Boats. So like I got that inspiration that when I read the book The Playbook by Mike Bellafiore, SMB Capital. Um no one told me to read that book. That I got that book because I was going down the rabbit hole of social media and YouTube, and someone mentioned it, and I bought it. And I read the whole thing. I read it 2 or 3 times, and so it's like no mentor tells you to do that. So
Yeah,
like, but so it's like you got to do all this work yourself. Now you have to also you have to be it's a mindset. Like thankfully I never had that like a toxic mindset of where like I wanted to get Lambos and flex on people, and never had this. And I think it's because I'm coming from a serious background of architecture and things like that. So it's like, you know I never got sucked into that. So I knew it was going to take a lot of work. I knew when someone says something, I knew if it was BS or it was real. Like, for example, Tim Grittani, I knew he was real. So I was like, if he can do it, I can do it. Like, he didn't teach. He has trading tickers too. Okay, that's like, I don't know, 25 hours, 30 hours of material. You watch it 5, 6 times. But like, I do have all these books, 900 podcasts now. But like, as I was
900
learning, I would
podcasts.
say, yeah, and probably
Wow,
like I've interviewed maybe a couple hundred people.
that's
And even
amazing.
like next week, I have Brian Shannon coming on my podcast. I want to learn more about anchored VWAP. I've had Brian Shannon on my podcast 3 times, and like I'm learning. I have his book. I read it once, and I have his other book. I read like half of it. Um, but like that's the work that I'm doing on my own. So it's like there really is no, like, there's some mentors along the way, but like the work is done. And by the way, this is in credit to Sam DeGash, my partner at Conscious Trading Academy. He's done a lot. We've done a lot. He's my coach. He's like my mental coach. And I had a lot of issues with trading early on. Well, up until I would say last year, that I was having barriers that I would hit, and I was, because of my self-worth, I wasn't valuing myself, and like limiting beliefs.
Monetary barriers. You mean?
Yes, yeah, like no, knowing it's like, oh man, 10,000 a day, it's like crazy. It's like, oh my God, $100,000 a month. It's like, this is crazy. It's
Yeah.
like you're comparing yourself constantly to, I used to drive Uber, and like I used to make $100 a day. Now I made 2,000 in the morning. It's like this.
And
And
you
then like,
believe that kind of needs to be impossible, and that's not.
yeah, so
There are more
it's
more people
not.
doing
So
that.
so but see, when you start to think about it like that, then when you're trading and you start to think about it, it affects your trading, and then you can mess up, because if you're
Yes.
like you're not like we were talking about before the podcast, it's not the norm for you,
Yeah, your
and then
mindset
when
is
it's not
not
the norm,
aligned with your trading, basically.
exactly. So, I did a lot of work on myself with that, and then it's like, instead of being like it's like you want to have gratitude and you want to be all the time, but when you have too much gratitude, it almost seems like a fantasy land. That, like, for me, it was like wow, I'm a trader now, and like I'm making all this money. It's like I went to uh I don't know, India and Japan, and like this is crazy. It's like, okay, it's gratitude, but now it's not the norm, and you might you can mess up.
Yeah.
because you don't feel like you work, like it's like you earned it. You know, like you feel kind of it's a self worth.
Like spoiled. You feel
I
spoiled, right?
feel like, like it's um it's just all because with trading, the thing is too, everything happens when you start to become profitable and things got to snowball. Things can happen really fast,
Yeah.
and when it happens fast, it's like, it's like not normal for you yet. So if it's not normal, it's kind of like, uh you know you open yourself up to like big losses and stuff too, like that, because like you earned, it's like it comes by so fast, it seems easy, and like, yeah, you don't understand, you don't really grasp the full value of like what just happened, about like all the work that you put in, and you are worthy, and like it is, what I mean. It's like, let's say, um like I had last year like $172,000 a month, and then I lost 150,000. So like, how did that happen? So like I'm going on a super streak, and it starts to feel surreal, and like, and it's like I don't understand the full grasp of what's just happening, and then you open yourself up to a big loss like that. So it's like, when you got to be like grounded, and and understand what's going on at the moment, and just be present, and like, so you can, so like you don't make those mistakes. So like, but yeah, going back to it, I did a lot of work on myself, and it's like all the work that I did early on and leading up to now, it was all, it's just all just 1% a day improvements, and it all just compounds. And even though with trading, the beauty is it can happen fast. Like it happened, just like if you look at me 2 years ago, if you just look at the podcast that I have, like you go back to the earlier videos, it's like 2 or 3 years ago. I'm like a completely different person. But like when I was, so like, but if you look at, and I'm 40 years old now, by the way. So, but if you look at me 5 years ago, or when I'm like 30 years old to 35, there's like no change in my life. The only change was like my debt was increasing, and my whole lifestyle was just flat. With trading, like everything can go up really fast if you
Mm.
focus on the right things, and you get rewarded really nicely with trading. So it's the beauty of it, compounding really fast. Yeah.
Man, I love it, and I love the story behind. Like you were with that brain operation, and the way you came back and ate the world before after that. It's amazing. It's basically how you feel about those down moments in life. uh, it is what makes the difference between a successful guy and a not successful guy. So I'm really amazed by your dedication and your achievements. So you deserve it, man. You're the man. And
Thanks, man.
why
Yeah.
why do
Thanks.
you why do you short sell only?
Yeah.
Are you short seller only, or you long at all? And why not? If the response is not.
Yeah, I mean that's a great question. So early on, I just decided short selling. I saw the quote from Bruce Lee. I saw it a long time ago. I'm a big fan of Bruce Lee. He said like, I'm afraid of the guy that masters one kick 10,000 times versus the guy that mastered 10,000 kicks once. I think that's the exact quote. And I was like, you know what? And I saw other quotes as well and other inspiration, but I was like, you know what? For me, honestly, like it's just so overwhelming. I just want to learn one thing, and that's it. So I knew short selling was the way because of the paid pump and dumps. It made a lot of sense to me. So like, I'm gonna stick with this. And then as the years go on, so also, I don't know about everybody else's situation with all the other traders that are very good as well. But for me, I had no money going in, man. I had nothing. So like, I couldn't mess up. So if and I know if I focus on long, shorts, options, scalping, investment, this, it's like, oh, it's too much, and like I don't have money to lose. I can't experiment, so I
Yeah.
just got to stick with one. I got to be accurate. So like I chose shorting, and because it's the most accurate, and I decided to master it. That's just straight up what it is. I think um now at this point, I've had ideas about going long. I've actually have discussed uh, like in my communities and stuff about theories I have of going long, because like what I don't short actually a lot of times is a good long. Like for
Yeah, because
example, we were talking.
when you're shorting, you know the red flags of a short. So if there are
Yeah,
a lot
so
of
it's
red flags, maybe you can build a thesis around
so
the corner.
exactly like we spoke about today, KAVL. I don't want to short that under 1 million float. Now the I have the theory about the long, but now the entries and exits and the risk, I have to come up with that. But like for me, it's exciting because now like I'm having the theory and I see it. I see it very clearly that it's a long thesis, but now it becomes about trading it. I have to figure that part out. And
Okay, so you have to
and
figure out
eventually I
the
will.
technical part of it, right? Where to
Yeah,
entry, where
yeah,
to risk.
exactly. Like which is great. So like that's the thing, and that was my plan all along. Do Changed my life with one way short selling. It changed my life completely. um I can do whatever I want now, now, and I have the capital also to now I can experiment.
Yeah.
So actually I was thinking later in the year to start experimenting with some longs, like some real long strategies. um but it's like I think that's part of like my success too. It's like having that long-term vision and not trying to rush and force things. Like, it's like, by the way, when I started, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give myself until 40 years old to get profitable. And if I'm not profitable by 40, I'm gonna reassess at 40 years
Hmm.
old. And and I went above and beyond. It worked out faster because like I had the right mentality. Also, like I knew I wasn't gonna quit. I was like the Hernan Cortez burned the boats. The first pages of the playbook by Mike Bellafiore. It's that's what it is. It's like the story of no, the burning the boats,
No,
the Hernan
no, I
Cortez.
don't. I don't.
You're Spaniard, right?
Well,
Or
I'm
no?
Argentinian, but I'm living in
Argentina. That's
Spain.
right. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah. That's right. Argentina. We talked about this before, but okay. So Hernan Cortez was a conquistador. And this is not about like the politics of the conquistadors and the indigenous people, and it's not about that. It's just the story that Hernan Cortez went to Mexico with like 3 boats of a bunch of conquistador soldiers, and they went to conquer on behalf of the queen. I think it was Queen Isabella. Don't quote me, but I think it was Queen Isabella, the same queen as Columbus and all this. So the conquistadors, they went and conquered all of the Western Hemisphere, mostly. So like all the Americas. Anyway, Hernan Cortez lands with 3 boats in Mexico, and they see the Aztecs. They're like eating people's hearts and stuff. They sent a scout. They sent like a guy in the bushes to go see what was going on, how they're gonna and then the guy comes back. He's like, "Man, we got to get out of here. These guys are crazy. These Aztecs, there's so many of them, and they're eating each other's hearts, and like, well, these are savages. We got to get out of here. These guys are crazy." And we're only like a few hundred people. I think they had like 200 or 300 people, and the Aztecs are like thousands. So then
Wow.
Hernan Cortez,
They were in
he's
trouble.
like, yeah, they're in trouble. So they're in trouble. But Hernan Cortez, he knew, okay, we have weapons, we have armor. I think they brought like horses and stuff, and I think they had guns. Yeah, and they had better technology, I guess. And he knew. And then, but the other soldiers, these are conquistadors. So conquistadors are like illiterate, poor people from Spain. They had nothing to do in Spain. That's why they signed up to go on the voyage. Um, so, anyways, they were all scared. But Hernan Cortez, when all the soldiers went to bed, he burned the boats. He burned it. And then the soldiers woke up and they're like, what? Why did you do that? Then Hernan Cortez, he's a charismatic guy. He said, okay, so we have 2 choices now. You can either kill me and you guys are going to killed anyway because of the Aztecs. They're going to come and kill you. Or we can go and fight them and you become a mayor, you become a governor, we get all the gold and we go back like legends. So then so the soldiers were like, you know what? Actually, killing you is not going to do
I
anything.
love it. Yeah,
So
that
let's do
makes
it.
sense.
And then they fought harder because if not, they have no choice. So the way I saw it, I got out of that story, and Mike Bellafiore discusses it very well in the book. Like you have no choice, so you fight harder, and it's actually a war strategy. The Greeks used it, the Romans used it. So like I
But
had no choice. So
that's
I
kind of your
decided
situation, your former situation. That's great. That's perfectly
yeah.
your
So I
situation.
exactly. So like I just no choice. I just stuck to this, and yeah, because trading is hard. Think about it. Like you're gonna suffer a lot, and you got to keep coming
Yeah.
back.
I think
So
trading, man, is easily one of the hardest careers in the world, if not, because as you say, you deal with losses, you deal with, I don't know if I'm trading randomly, I don't know if this gonna work out in the future, I don't know if, like, everything is uncertainty, and the only key to success, as you say, is the obsession and the showing up every day, and not throwing the towel when a big loss comes in, or knowing how to analyze yourself. And it's a lot of things that no one is really up to do in the society of right now, that it's everything fast and everything is easy, and um, the culture of work is not as good. So I think traders are real warriors, and I respect every man that claims to be a trader and that it's a real trader. I really respect it because of it. It's a lot of good qualities in a human being.
yeah, I agree, man. And also to add to that is that it's a shame too because we do have all the tools and all the information more than ever to become successful at
Yeah,
trading now on the internet. So it's like now it becomes more of like the resilience and the persistence and the mindset to like to deal with it, to deal with the growing pains of like surviving your learning curve, just
yeah,
survival. So it's like the persistence, like how bad do you want it, and like are you obsessed and like learning? Like I was mentioning earlier, now like I was so obsessed with like learning, getting information, just trying, like just like when I was in architecture school, that's what I wanted to do. I was doing.
yeah,
So it's like that is, I think, that drive is one of the most important things, and that part is controllable. It's you got to cultivate it. Everybody has it in them. You just got to cultivate it. It can't be like from the Lamborghini,
yeah,
or like
exactly.
Lamborghini's not going to give you that. So um because all the information is out there. There's no secret.
If you're
You have
everything,
Flash Research is all the information.
if you're doing everything with the Lamborghini on mind, you will quit after 2 weeks because you will figure out that it's too hard, and it's maybe
Yeah,
easier to become a banker or something else more guided.
yeah. These days I do a lot of habits, like
Of what?
routines.
Okay.
I do a lot, and I know that like it's not just a one-time thing, two times thing. It's I do it, but I know if I do it for 1 or 2 years every day, it's gonna be crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, so
It's long-term
some of the
vision.
yeah. So like for example, I take I've been doing. I looked at my Amazon orders the other day, and I didn't realize I bought this thing 2 years ago, and I've been doing it every day for 2 years, and like I didn't realize so much. Like it passed, that time flies. But I've been doing this. For an example,
Oh,
I
I
do
saw
a lot
I
of these
saw you
things.
that on a picture of you. What's that, to
Yeah.
exercise the muscles on the mouth, right?
This one, no, it's for the lungs. So I got it from it's a
Ah,
UFC fighter, Bas Rutten. He's like an old school UFC fighter. He invented this,
what's that
and
for?
it makes your breathing so much better. So like when I was a kid, and I still do, I have asthma,
Okay.
and they give you all these inhalers and stuff, but actually this, it cured my asthma. And
Wow.
so it works out your inner, so like, and it doesn't work if you do it once or twice. I got the effect like 6 months later, and then now 2 years later I'm still doing it. Then I do also, so it's like I know that like for example, reading 10 pages a day I used to do. I know that adds up, and then now I can read more, or like watching videos every day, trading videos, staying up to date with all the podcasts of other people.
That little
This is
1% each
knowledge.
day, right?
Yeah, so it's constantly talking with you with trading is counts too.
Yeah.
We spoke about trading, and like that, just talking about, so like think about it. So like I mentioned before, I was in Puerto Rico. So in Puerto Rico, this is what I was doing, like talking with trading. I think like the entire day, because like it's all
Networking.
traders. Yeah, it's so it's just that 1%, all the good habits, you know, and it's not like that. So the thing is, the people with the Lamborghini, they don't have all that. They want to get the Lamborghini tomorrow or 2 weeks from now. But to get the Lamborghini is actually possible,
Yeah.
but it's not. It's just you can't focus on that. It's
If
gonna.
that's a goal, that's a very poor that's a very poor
Yeah,
goal.
it is Virgo. Yeah, exactly.
So, and you said you short sell only. Uh, you said you short sell based on pump and dumps and shitty companies and stuff. Actually, what do you look for in technicals? What do you look for on a chart, and how do you manage risk? How do you do everything related on technical aspect?
Okay, yeah. So technical is very good. So a lot of people think they don't really know. Like I do rely on fundamentals, but like you gotta know your technicals too. Like you gotta
Yeah.
be really good. So that's one of the first things that you can learn. Um, I read all the Japanese charting books by Steve Neeson. I've been reaching out to him. Hopefully I can have him on the podcast. I'll let him know when he comes on. Like it's a good one to have. It's the Japanese candlesticks, the books.
Yes.
Yeah, so like those books I read, and like so I look for certain things. Like on the daily, I like to see the potential, or if it happened already, the gravestone doji, the death candle doji, like
Mm-hmm.
that. Then like, that's very bearish. Then like I want to see the story the intraday is gonna tell. So if it's a first red day, I'm looking in for it. Like I'm looking for that. So like a potential, like the price action. Okay, this is a potential gravestone doji, is a potential death drop, like after a big capitulation. Like for example, FFIE recently, um, after trading 4 billion shares, no, no, yeah, a billion shares for 4 days. So like the price action now, like I have different setups. So that's like a first red day setup, which happens only every so often. I know
Mm-hmm.
I'm only gonna get like five, maybe in a crazy market, maybe 10 of those a year. So the price action for that is separate in itself. But I am looking, for certain price action, like overextended in the morning in the pre-market, gapping up, and I'm looking for it's completely gapped up, and I'm imagining how it's gonna finish the day. Like it's got that candle that's in the morning, the pre-market, it's gonna shrink and become a gravestone. It's super extended now from 4 cents FFIE for 4 days, 1 billion shares traded for 4 days. Now the fifth day, this is like high probability that we're gonna get that first red day.
Mm-hmm.
Also, traders that I know, they unfortunately lost big in the they thought the third day was going to be the first red day, and
Yeah.
like I happen to have been not exposed on that day, and I survived that day. Now the fourth day is a really good opportunity, so I managed to put myself in place for that.
Why did
so
you avoid that third day? What was your red flag
so I
or?
didn't avoid it on FFIE. Yeah, so that FFIE, so this is the thing with trading. So
I
it's like
I
at the
think
same time.
sorry to interrupt. I think we were talking about that day. I think we were going to make the last podcast that we made that
Oh
specific year,
yeah,
the day, and you told me, bro, let's
that's
let's do it
right.
tomorrow because of this. I think it was
That was
that.
the third day. Actually, I had a good day that day, but I had an even better day the next day.
You
Well,
told me.
actually, I had a decent day, but I was holding FFIE a piece of it, and the next day, yeah, I nailed that first red day. I added to the position. Um, yeah, I had a $38,000 day the next day. I think that was my
Wow,
biggest day ever.
that's
Um,
crazy.
but yeah, it takes some risk too. I saw what was going on. I was unrealized like 10K that day I spoke to you, and then the next day I added to it because I saw that big capitulation. Now at the same time, that the day that we spoke, it did have moments it trended up, and it went even higher the next day and then crashed, but it did have some opportunities, quick trading opportunities that day that we spoke. I think it halted up and halted down.
Hmm.
I did capitalize intraday. So like I have various accounts, and I'll dedicate one account for like cash flow scalping, one account for bigger size ace setups. So like a few accounts, and so like I was short scalping the moves because I knew I come up with a bigger picture thesis. Okay, it's up from 4 cents. It traded 3 days, 1 billion shares each day. That's crazy.
That was
Um,
amazing.
yeah, it's crazy. Like a billion shares. Like, and it looked like a lot of wash trading. It looked like a lot of wash trading algos. So I was like, something is up with this thing. Um, but either way, it's overexhausted. Uh, billion shares. It's coming. It's near the end. It's just like towards the end, it has like a big what do you call it? Squeeze out. You got to be careful
A
with
big
that.
panic.
A big panic upward. What do you call it? I forgot the term for it, but it's like a big squeeze out, and blow off top. They
Blow
blow
off
off
top.
top. So
Yeah.
then, so like those can be really nasty. So it's like you gotta save space for that. You gotta consider that into your position sizing. So and your risk. But that day that we spoke, it did halt up and then it halted down and then it grinded back. I think even higher. But
Yeah.
that halt up and halt down, that was a good. Like I like to trade the halts. So like I did trade it well, but then like it grinded back, and then that's like it's like okay, when's the next halt up?
So you
So
were kind of holding a core, and with the excess of over that core, you were scalping around it, right?
yeah,
Okay.
exactly, and that's a theory I have like with the if I see an ace setup, like a pure ace setup, FFIE on that moment it was like B plus, and then the next day was like super A plus because like I now like I'm in position, like I didn't get involved for like I didn't oversize the third day or the second day. I know a lot of shorts that did, and then it could have been me, man. Also on top of that, was I was I in Argentina? No,
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
I wasn't.
I think so. You
I
were in
was in
Argentina.
Argentina.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Oh,
In
yeah.
Buenos
I was in
Aires.
Argentina. Yes, right. Yeah. So, um, this is the trading. You know what I'm saying? It's like that wasn't planned. But like when I'm traveling, I'm in my different setup. I'm not so aggressive. So
Hmm.
that also, I wasn't paying attention to FFIE for the first 2 days. It didn't. So like when it crossed the dollar, I started to pay attention, and I'm on my laptop in Buenos Aires. So I'm not being aggressive. But then the fourth day, I was like, it's time. So even if I was over there, I was like, I put on size
Yeah.
because like, but the key to that is that I wasn't paying attention to it for 3 days, for 2 days. So you know what I'm saying?
That's because of the particular situation that you had in Argentina, or was that because of you avoiding shorting sub dollars? You avoid shorting sub
Well, I
dollars,
avoid
or
shorting sub dollars for
okay?
sure, but Argentina, like I'm traveling, I'm enjoying the food,
Yeah. Okay.
I'm outside, it's like and
Yeah.
it's so and also like I hate being while I'm traveling, nobody wants that.
Yeah.
So like I was being very timid with the trading. Like it's like I was being only for good, easy setups. Like I remember when I was traveling, I was shorting MULN a lot, even though it wasn't like crazy. But I know I like MULN and it's trash. Like
Hmm.
I don't have I'm not scared of it. It's not
Yeah.
like some crazy thing that's gonna squeeze me like crazy. Um, but speaking about the strategy, so yeah, I'll have the first red days. I have like scalping stuff. I come up with a bigger picture thesis, and if everything checks out, for the most part, like what I don't trade is the most important thing. Like avoiding the stuff that's gonna get real nasty for
China
shorting.
names. I know you.
Yeah, I don't trade any
Hmm.
Chinas. I don't trade any certain stocks.
It
I
makes.
don't even talk about them anymore because like you have people that disagree. It's cool. You got to disagree, man. But I mean I do well for myself. So
Yeah,
it's like
there's a lot of like nonsense hate because of those
it's
things.
whatever, man. It's like it's cool, man. It's like it gives me more publicity, I guess.
But
It's like
but
go ahead. It's like
but
Donald
then,
Trump.
man, you see the data, and actually, China names when they go crazy, they go crazier than USA names. Like I don't know if you
Yeah,
saw
I
in
mean,
Flash Research, I posted about it. Um,
huh?
and when you take the chart, that chart where that tells you the years and the average move, bucketed in month to month, you see that China names tend to expand a bit more than the usual U.S. stocks. That U.S. stocks always like they can also squeeze like crazy, but historically
Yeah.
on China names they are more prompt to.
I think so, man. So like this is so Flash Research did a really good job on analyzing all the everything concerning all the numbers with that. And it's clear. You can see for yourself. But on top of discretionary review, I know people that have lost their careers with shorting China stocks. And
Yeah.
like the thing with data that you can never get, I don't know if there's a way to do it. You guys can probably figure out a way. You know, you're way better with anything with data than I am. But like, there's no way you can get the data on auto liquidations of brokers that auto liquidated, or like when you can't get out of a halt, or like the halts happen 2 or 3 times, like ILAG went 2 or 3 times. And I
Hmm.
know people that got auto liquidated by a certain broker. Everybody gets auto liquidated. I know like this other company, CO, was a Cayman Island Chinese stocks that halts for 10 months. It's like, so
Oof.
they have
Wow.
also the ability to halt for 10 T12 halt. Um, I had
But brother,
some
you,
people on my podcast.
do you avoid China names or foreign names at all?
No, 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 all foreign. Eh, in my master class that I have like every 2 weeks, I go over every single specific question of like what I avoid. It's just like, I'm over exhausted. I mean, I'll mention it here, but like just in general, like just so people know, I'm kind of over exhausted. Just always repeating of what I don't trade, and getting like people that disagree. And like I don't really care if people disagree. These are my rules. It's
Yeah,
like if
exactly.
someone is
Why
vegetarian,
hate?
I'm not gonna
What's
tell
the
them not
point?
not to eat this. Like, yo, eat the steak. What? Why aren't you eating the steak? Like, yo, I'm vegetarian, man. I don't want to eat the steak. So like so it's like that's the trading. So like but yeah, I don't trade the China. And the thing is that like I'm a discretionary trader, so like I know like my discipline is getting stronger. This is something that's hard for people to understand. You got to understand yourself more than anything. I understand myself pretty well, and I'm improving. I'm trying to get better at that every day, and so growing. But I know that if I don't eat like the donut now, it's gonna be easier for me to not eat the donut next time. And then when someone says, "Hey, eat this donut," I'll be like, it's just very easy for me not to do it.
Yeah.
And I don't drink alcohol, for example. And it
I
used to be
mean,
hard for
neither
me
do
to
I.
turn it. Oh, nice. But like you understand. So like people like in the beginning when you're not drinking alcohol, I haven't drank in like 5 years or something like that. And that helped me become profitable, I think. But in the beginning, it's hard to turn it down, and then like the more you turn it down, and it becomes normal, becomes the norm. Then it's just like it becomes like your identity. No, I don't drink, and then when you're confident about it, people are like, oh, he doesn't drink, it's fine. But if you're not confident about it, people are gonna still try to give it to you.
Yeah.
They're like, come on, man,
Yeah,
come on,
try it,
come on,
try it. Yeah.
yeah, you come on, man, just have. What, you kidding me? But then now, like my frame is so strong because I've denied alcohol for so many years, and it's just like people know, and oh, he doesn't drink. No, he doesn't drink. Leave him alone. So it's like with discipline. If I just ignore, I don't trade the China no matter what. If I know it's China, I just don't trade it. So like the next time it pops up, I don't trade it. And the thing is like my three biggest losses have been Chinese names. So it's like I used to trade them a lot. I was the king of China. I was
Yeah.
the king, and then I decided not to. I retired.
What
So
was the point there when what was the ticker that made you forget about this?
TOP,
TOP.
$150,000 loss, man. So
Yeah.
like,
Fuck.
yeah, it's like, and then before that, FNGR lost 100 grand, and then on top of that, PETZ I lost 60 grand. So it's like, by the way, the PETZ 60 grand, uh, like I had a lot less net worth at that time. So like I had made like a 200 grand on the year, and then I give 60 grand back, and 200 grand was like my net worth.
Yeah.
So it's like to take a hit like that. It's like
It's a big
it's
hit.
very,
Hmm.
yeah, it's tough, man. Um, and yeah, I actually PETZ was China Balstead, and I had the guy that does China Balstead on my podcast, and I asked him about it, and it's a scam, and yeah, it was a fun podcast, but yeah, I don't trade those. Nano floats is so like I know you did well on KVL today,
Yeah,
long.
on the long side.
Congratulations, very
Thank
good
you.
trade. For short, it's not a good trade.
Yeah,
It's
it's not. And
it's
then
not.
on top of that, the borrow fee was expensive as fuck.
Yeah,
So
it's like 800% or something, 700%. So but in the past, I remember last year, I think there was a stock, ADTX. I knew
Yeah.
not to trade nano floats, but my discipline wasn't as strong because I knew every now and then I would be like, oh, it's up 1,000%. It's up 800. It's like, let
And
me
it's a
just try.
shit. Let's short
Let
it.
me, yeah, let's try. Then I was like, let me just try fund
A
size.
bit.
Let me try a tiny bit.
That's a classic, yeah?
And then it's like more. And then, yeah, and then you get a $15,000 loss off a small position. But then I like, so I thought to myself, why did I break my discipline? Why did I break? I knew I shouldn't short nano floats. Why do I do this? Like, is it a rule or is it like a 50% rule? Like, why? So then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make it like my identity. No nano floats. No nano floats at all. Zero. If dilution tracker says under 1 million, I'm not trading it. I'm just so it makes it easier to do the discipline when it's your identity. I know like some
Mm-hmm.
traders, they are discretionary. That's their identity. Some are systematic. That's their identity. Some go by data. That's their identity. And it's easy to go by data. It's easy to go by because that's their identity. So it's like when it becomes like for me, like I'm not trading nano floats anymore, no more. And then it becomes easier to apply the rules. So now every time I see, I'm not even tempted to trade it.
Yeah.
KVL, um, I looked at it today. I was like, oh, 800%, no, 860K float. And of course, I saw the borrow fee rate too and stuff, but I was like, it's a nano float. I don't trade nano floats. So very easy to avoid, but yeah, I used to get caught in these things, so
Mm-hmm.
not anymore. It's just a solid rule. So it's the same thing with all the other stuff. If I just make that a rule, I gotta stick to the rule. If I don't stick to the rule, then like, what's the point?
They fuck you up. And then you
Yeah.
learn that sticking to the rule is the right thing to do. And you kind of, in my case, when I think of doing something that it's off my rules, I dislike it. Like, I don't want to feel that way. Not because of the of me failing a rule, but because of the pain that that kind of situation
Yeah, you
give me
question
in the past
yourself.
to include that rule. So
No, absolutely. That's a great point. So like you question yourself, like, man, why did I knew I shouldn't have done that. What's wrong with me? Like, why? Why did I do that? Like, like then you question your trading. You're
when
like,
you
is this
get
gonna happen again?
this sensation that you mentioned 3 4 times, you're like, no, no more. And
You're like because you can't control yourself and like it becomes destructive.
yeah,
It's it's like an animal you can't control.
yeah,
So
exactly,
if it happens
absolutely,
3 or 4 times, then you start to have your brain goes to like, oh my god, what if I can lose everything? Then you go
yeah,
into fear, and then the fear is like, oh my god, like I can go bankrupt, I can lose my car, I can lose my house, I can lose my wife, I can lose, oh my god, like this is then it becomes destructive, and you got to do a lot of work to change that. If you dig not only a financial hole from the loss that you took, but also the whole of like getting the confidence to be able to perform, because like
yeah,
with this you got to be super focused, and you can't, you know what I mean, to perform, to see the patterns, to execute, to be able to be calm and to like stick to your rules, because it's a lot of our behaviors, our human behaviors are it's,
yeah,
this
sure.
is the charts is human behavior. Everything
It's the
you're looking at.
markets, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then how do you use the? You mentioned you're a discretionary trader, but you kind of use data in some way. How do you implement that data into discretionary trading?
Okay, great. So like this is like the stuff you guys do, man. It's so good because it's simple and like everybody can use it. You don't have to be a scientist. So and it's very good information. So for example,
Thank you.
I want to know the performance of the gap stats. It helps me get a bigger picture of the puzzle. For the thesis. I want to know what days I trade better on, why, and then I can come up. Then you imagine why you trade better in those days. Why are there more squeezes happening on Friday? Why do certain country stuff why squeeze more than others? Then I come up with a thesis behind that. Like, okay, SEC can't enforce rules to overseas companies. so they can manipulate it more, they can squeeze it more. So it's like a combination of I'm using my imagination together with data, then also analyzing my stats, like what how do I perform best, what hour of the day, maybe it's pre-market. I used to trade pre-market a lot. There's a lot of edge in the pre-market.
Yeah, it does. In
I was
fact,
looking at my stats.
is the time zone where I earn the most money.
Yeah, no, good man. I'll tell you what, I earned my first $200,000 was in the pre-market, 2020 and 21. I was looking at it today. Profit factor of four,
Wow.
91 winning percentage. I have it all in Trader View. I was looking at it today. I was like, damn, my profit factor now is like 2 or something like that. But like back then, I was holding for the whole move of
Hmm.
pre-market. So, but yeah, these days, and I want everyone to hear it. I want because nobody's gonna do it because everyone it's pre-market. It's early. It's super early. But if anyone, you can use it. So like the first hour or so is the best time, and it's the best time because there's less algorithms. There's by the way, on my podcast, I spoke about this for like 2 or 3 years, and I think only like a handful of people listen to it. Like I was saying it all the time, all the time. Um, but it's the same thing. It hasn't changed. So 4 in the morning, at interactive brokers, the direct access brokers are open. So like all the DOS trader brokers. When I was trading, there was only like one broker, Cobra. They opened at 4:30 a.m.
Hmm.
So it was DOS, Cobra, and like very few others. I think Centerpoint. But most of the brokers open up at 7 a.m. and 8 a.m. and all that. That's why you see a lot of volume at 7 a.m. But the main edge is between 4 in the morning, I would say, until like 5:30. That's the easiest time. It's like a dead zone. It's a dead zone of like there's less brokers open. There's hardly any algorithms. All the hedge funds are closed. The big traders are sleeping. Random movements are happening. Some manipulation from overseas. Excuse me. Some manipulation from overseas, like which are aiming to squeeze short sellers and auto liquidate them. So the auto liquidations happen around like 4:30 a.m. and that's why you see those big spikes.
Yeah.
So if you're ready for that, you can capture that on the short side. Those auto liquidations, and you can write it down. I would write it down until like 7 a.m. when more brokers would open up and more volume would come in. And there's less edge, but there is some edge. But the main edge is like 4 to 5:30. And I don't think many people are gonna listen to this, so that's why I'm saying it to it. But like Vitali, hopefully you capitalize.
That's amazing, brother, because you take that edge of the pre-market on the short side, and my edge on pre-market is on the long side. On the other hand,
On the long side.
yeah,
Nice.
on pre-market, I like to look for pumps. So the new gappers that are going to be on the open market. I like to look for the squeezes on pre-market, like the pre-market breakouts or that kind of stuff. And yeah, I long it. I don't usually short on
Nice.
pre-market. I will take a look into that.
So
I
so
like
let me
that
see
idea.
how I can help you out. So okay, so for longs, um, if something is gapping up from the after hours, after hours you get some stocks moving up.
Yeah.
They usually a lot of times, I call it the two-step pattern for shorting. So they usually gap up even more at 4 a.m. and then fade. So
Hmm.
if you're quick, usually it's a couple minutes or like right away. If you're quick, you can look. Maybe you can look at the data for this. The first 5 or 10 minutes, when a stock is gapping up, let's say 20 to 40% in the after hours. This is how you use data.
Hmm.
So then this is how you use flash research. So yeah. So if it's gapping up in the after hours in the pre-market, it can squeeze exponentially because it's being manipulated for those auto liquidations on the shorts because short sellers are shorting it after hours and they're trying to squeeze them. So if you long it at 4 a.m., I don't know, there's a certain period that there's edge for data. Let's say within the first few minutes, if you get that data and see which ones go, like depending on, but it has to move in the after hours the day before. It has to move in the after hours like 20 to 40%. Then it's gonna squeeze more at 4 a.m. and then fade. Um, Another long one could be if a stock is consolidating, let's say like 40% or higher, all pre-market. Uh, Maybe there's a catalyst, maybe there's not. That's why we have flash research. You can look at the data if it has a catalyst, if it doesn't. If it consolidates, let's say 40% or higher, uh, at 7 a.m. when the volume comes in, because the brokers are opening up. E-Trade opens up, Trade Station opens up, Schwab opens up, all these brokers open up. There's more volume coming in because the people that are sleeping, that they're waking up. Let's say you have an E-Trade account and you're a long person. You're looking at the stocks that are gapping up
Hmm.
and you're seeing, oh, this has news. It's up 40, 50%. As soon as E-Trade opens, I'm going to buy because I think it's going to go. So that's what happened. A surge of volume comes in at
Hmm.
7 a.m. and sends the stock higher. And then at the open, it might even go higher. We've seen that a bunch of times. So for longs, I would say this is like how I enjoy this, man. Like coming up with the theory. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
It's
the
like
puzzle.
it's like a theory. I haven't
Hmm.
done the longs myself. Maybe one day I will soon. But the theory is fun. So it's like, okay, the theory, okay, so like those are two long strategies right there. A stock that's gapping up after hours in the AM, there's a period of time, maybe 5, 10 minutes, where they squeeze as high, and then you don't. It's a short period trade because it's gonna fade. But at 7 a.m. too, it's like a stock that consolidated all pre-market or looks bullish. When that next volume comes in, it might go higher. So two opportunities right there. Some data in that.
I love it, man. I love it because that's a really a challenge to find strategies based on data for longs. So I'm definitely going to take a look over that. That seems logic. I like it.
Yeah, and so like with data, so it's like this is the part where like I have friends that help me out because they will look into like the volume criteria and little details. I'm
Hmm.
more like a big picture. I'm like, okay, 30, 40% up. Does it have a catalyst? What country is it from? This and that. But like then I have friends. That's why it's good to be like have friends that are trading and like everyone sees things differently. They say, okay, if it has a certain amount of volume, because I had a friend that told me if it had like a million volume within a minute, like 2 minutes, and it's
That's
bullish, stay
myself,
away.
by the way.
You know?
I trade like that. I look for the tape. I'm a tape reader, and I look for momentum. I like to see volume, maybe a news, maybe like more technical than fundamental.
Uh-huh. Nice.
So
Nice.
it's really cool to see other points of view because that's when you really learn, and you can implement those things.
Absolutely.
And then the last question I wanted to make you is you've already achieved a lot of things on trading, but what is your ultimate goal? Where are you heading to? What are your goals as a trader?
Okay, so like the last goal I want to do, right? So like I'm an architect. I have this skill set that I don't just want to forget, you know? So I want to just at the end I want to design buildings too. But like
Okay.
I went on like I met on one like a date last year or something with an architect girl, and I was like, man, this is awesome. This is an architect, and like I love architecture. And I told her this, and she got mad, and like we never saw each other after that. She didn't say get mad. I know she got mad, but she didn't say it because I said architecture is like a hobby. You do it like when I'm retired, I'm gonna draw buildings and just buy a bunch of property and just develop my own buildings. It's like a hobby. But it doesn't pay. Like it doesn't pay. Like it sucks, but it's a good hobby. Then she got didn't like to hear that, but
What do you
it's
say,
true. So,
man?
but that's what I want to do. I want to like get enough capital where I can just like develop I can just design the building. I'm my own client. I can design a skyscraper, and just design it and like I don't know. So that's like the ultimate goal, and because I think with trading, it's good to have like you have a vision for yourself, and I have a lot of other personal goals and visions. Then maybe I'll share another time. But I think it's good to have that personal goal. It's like okay, with trading, you can make money, but then like what's next? It's you know. So a lot of traders, and I've met a lot of big traders. They don't really have a purpose, and they feel kind of lost when they make a lot of money or super successful. It's like, what's next? So it's like I think it's good to have that. With me, I'm fortunate that I have architecture that I can always do, and so like that's what's next. And just with also the academy is nice. The concentrating academy is nice because like now I get to like inspire others to change their lives as well. Because like trading has changed my life completely. I went from being completely broke like struggling so hard, and then now like I can travel. I went to the Galapagos Islands last month,
Wow,
Positano, Italy, 2 weeks last week,
that's
Buenos
inspiring.
Aires for a month. I'm going to Dubai later in the year. I have an event next week with like on the rooftop over here, talking trading with Roland and his people. So like,
That's a
trading
kind
is
of lifestyle that I love to to watch. Like I'm a pretty young man. I'm 23, and that's
so young,
what I'm
man.
trading for. Like my ultimate goal is to work 1 month in Bali, then another month in I don't know where, and the other month in Argentina. You know, being able to move and to enjoy all those places because your job allows you to. I think it's the most cool thing on earth.
Yeah,
So
you know what? So you're only 20, bro. Like you have the world is so like it's so good that you have so much. Like when I was 23, oh my God, like I was in college partying, which it's just cool. Actually, it's cool. And I was in South Beach in Miami going to the club. I didn't wasn't making any money. I was working at the mall for like 650 an hour, just to meet, just to have fun, like it wasn't. So like you got flash research now, you like so way ahead of the game. Like think about, so we talked about earlier in this podcast video that the 1% a day. I started 1% a day. Well, I was doing like 1% a month, or every 1% every 3 months, all the way to like 33 years old. 1% every 3 months. Then at 33 years old, I decided to do 1% a day. You started 1% a day at 23. So, so
that's cool,
you
man.
got it's
That's
good. Keep it up.
I'm a lucky man, man. I found my passion so early. So yeah, I
Yeah,
think I'm a lucky guy.
nice, nice. So keep it up, man. Looking forward to it.
Thank
Yeah,
you, thank you, man. So, brother, it was amazing to having you here. Your story is amazing. I love it. So, thank you, and see you again for another podcast.
absolutely. All right, man. I'll see you.
Thank you, man. Bye bye. Nice.